Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I'm happy to welcome into the studio Reverend Nick Agule. You're welcome.
Thank you, Father.
Nick, you spent your whole working life working in the oil industry.
Yes.
The BP.
Yes.
And then you retired
Shell
in the UK,
and
Shell and Chevron, BP, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Now, but in the last 2 years, what has been in the lips of every Nigerian is about the cost of oil, the cost of fuel. Nigerians are spending 50%, 60, 70% of their income to buy fuel. And even that is not available. Just a historical sketch. Before May 29, 2023, we were buying fuel 195 naira per liter, and it was available.
Yes.
Now, we were told that subsidy was killing our economy. So, it says fuel subsidy is gone on the 29th of May. Then, at the same time, the naira was completely floated. So, the naira was floated and it swung immediately from 450 naira or thereabout, or 800 naira in the black market. It swung to 1,600. Now, fuel, as you deregulated, it went from 195 to 617, and has been cascading since then. Today is 1,150 in Lagos or in Abuja or somewhere, and it's even more in some other parts of Nigeria. Nigerians are spending, even the middle class, spending perhaps 50% of their income for power, to fuel their car and to run generators, because at this same time, we have national grid collapse happening every week. So it means people run their homes with generators. And then the best the government could do is to increase minimum wage to 70,000. Meanwhile, everything has gone by 200, 300, 400%. You want to buy Panadol, you want to buy drugs for malaria, you want to buy antibiotics. My sister used to buy some antibiotics for 5,000. It's now 27,000. See how many times it has gone. So, and you know how much was added to many people's salaries? 40,000. 40,000 across the board. The person earning 200,000, they added 40. The person earning 300,000, they added 40. So, 40,000 has been added to people's salaries in Nigeria, but everything from yam to bed to everything has increased by, not by the official inflation rate of 35 or whatever, by 400%. Meaning that, is it that the leaders, the superintendents of our economy didn't know the implications of floating the naira and at the same time removing fuel subsidy? That right now, I don't think, unless you tell me, I don't think they know what they are doing, because the naira has kept tumbling. Today is about 1,750. So this started from the oil sector. So you are an expert in this area. What is going on? One, has our petroleum, has it really become a curse? It's supposed to have been a blessing. But apparently it's like a curse. What's going on?
Thank you very much, Father. And to be honest, you have succinctly described the situation in Nigeria now. And all of us can feel the pinch. No matter the ladder at which you are in Nigeria, you can feel the pains. But for those who are at the bottom ladder, even the pains are more excruciating.
A lot more.
So you describe the situation accurately. Before May 29th, 2023, when Mr. President made the famous fuel subsidy is gone speech, declaration, we were in a subsidy regime. We were clearly in a subsidy regime because petrol cannot cost less than 200 in a normal regular market if it is not subsidized. But the problem with the subsidy was that people had used it as a conduit to loot the national treasury.
And the people who had done this, our leaders don't know them.
So that is where the problem comes from. the leaders, especially, I will focus on Mr. President, who is the ultimate decision maker. He could have faced those who are using fuel subsidy as a conduit for criminality. He had that option. Or he had the option of, okay, let me remove it, meaning throwing both the baby and the bathwater away. Why I say the baby is that subsidy is not a wrong thing. Governments all over the world, they subsidize one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Like, I live in the UK, the government subsidizes our healthcare 100%. We don't pay a dime.
And during winter, they subsidize some of the power.
They subsidize some of the power for low-income people and old people. Government subsidizes education in the UK 100% up to age 18. That is the age before you go to university. You know, and so that we were subsidizing petrol, which is an important component of the economy, was not a bad thing. It wasn't anything wrong. What was wrong with it was the criminality. And the president could have faced those, the cabals, who were using this good government policy to fight them to submission, because he's the commander-in-chief. But be that as it may, he already has said fuel subsidy is removed. Problem was that after he removed fuel subsidy and the price of petrol jumped to about 500, 600 level, immediately as at that time, with dollar at 460 naira, fuel subsidy was truly gone. But the same president allowed the central bank, or watched the central bank, devalue our currency. So the currency now moved from that 460 to 1,000 to 1,000 to 1,500. It was heading to 2,000 at some point before it started to come down.
No. It is 1,700 as the last
exactly.
count.
So what then happened was that it made useless the subsidy that was gone, because as we were now importing the petrol at higher exchange rate, that 500 or 600 could no longer carry it in terms of price. So government actually started to subsidize again. They started to subsidize, but they didn't have the courage to tell us, to Nigerians, to say we are still paying subsidy.
So soon after they told us subsidy was gone,
yes,
they started subsidizing again.
They started subsidizing, because if they were not subsidizing and you land products at 1,600, 1,700 instead of 460, when Mr. President made that statement, you will not sell it for 500 to 600 naira. Absolutely no way. So they were subsidizing. And they kept subsidizing until Dangote refinery now came into the fray. So when Dangote refinery came into the fray, the NNPCL published a template, a very widely publicized template, where they took Platts, which is the international price at which petrol is sold, and they applied exchange rate of 1,631 to it, added all other charges to it, and then came up with a price of 950 naira. And they say that is the price at which petrol will sell in the Lagos area.
While you experts discuss that, I am asking.
Yeah.
You mean that every farmer farms his own? This person is farming corn, this person is farming cassava, we are farming yam. So for my family to eat, I go and find out what are they, how much are they selling here
in the
international market.
Yeah.
Then I tell my wife and say, this is how you buy it. When I have the responsibility of feeding my family, does it make elementary sense?
Doesn't make sense one bit. So the first point
because we farm it, we have the oil in our backyard.
So we should have the advantage. Yeah. So the first point is that with that template that the NNPCA used, if anybody is talking about subsidy now in Nigeria, that person is a criminal. Because the full price at Platt has been pushed to Nigerians. And subsequently from that template, the NNPC has increased the price of petrol 2 or 3 times, to the extent that the cheapest now is more than 1,000.
It's 1,150.
So, coming to the point that you have made, Father, it is wrong for NNPCL to have done that. The reason is that, like, when we landed in London, when I went to take my job in London, I landed with my family in Southeast London, where you mostly have a lot of Nigerians, wanted to stay. And then my job was in West London, near Heathrow Airport. So I had to commute every day. And I discovered that wasn't working. So we now had to move to West London, nearer the job. Immediately, we saw that prices of things in the shop and even petrol and all of that were higher in West London than in East London. And when we researched it, it was because of the income levels. The people in West London earned more on average than the people in... So the suppliers, including petrol stations, knew that, and they had the pricing for Southeast separate from the West. So there's absolutely no way that Nigeria can carry plats and apply a very lopsided exchange rate, because I used that same template with exchange rate of 460 when this government came into power, and the price of petrol was 200 naira, 231 naira, not the 950 that we're talking about. So you can't be using the plat without the wages.
I am saying,
yes,
there is a critical point that I don't hear people emphasizing enough. How long does it take to build a refinery? It took an individual, Dangote, to build a 650 million barrels worth of refinery. About 6-7 years, he built it. For the past 30 years, we have been doing turnaround maintenance of our own refineries, Port Harcourt and Warri and Kaduna and so on. Yeah. So, what is the problem? Because you see, if we have crude oil and we have refineries, we don't need to talk of dollar.
No.
Good. And it is not every day we are buying parts.
No.
So if we have crude oil, and we have refinery, so we dig our crude oil and we refine it and we take and sell it to ourselves at 100 naira or 50 naira as we wish.
Yes.
Then earn more money by selling some to the international market at international price.
Yes.
What is this thing? How come that an individual can build a refinery? Nigerian government for 30 years cannot even turn around a refinery. What is the problem?
You have touched on a very important subject. Since this government came into office last year, they've been talking about reforms. Reforms has become a buzzword that is on the lips of every government official. But I hope they are going to watch Reflections, because I would like to pass a message directly to them that you don't do reforms one-sided. Reforms must be both on the demand side and on the supply side, so that pricing will become fair. The entire reforms that this government have been doing have been on the demand side. I'll give you examples. You've spoken about the fuel subsidy. If fuel subsidy removal is a reform, then the government didn't need to stop there. The government immediately needed to do something about Nigeria's 4 refineries that have a combined capacity of 445,000 barrels per day, which is about half of Dangote refinery's capacity. Those refineries have been in the care of the NNPCL, and the NNPCL has shown incompetence in running them over the years. So why is Mr. President removing subsidies to jack up the price and not doing anything about the refineries that could have now jacked up the supply, so that we can now have an equilibrium price?
Is it true that these refineries for I don't know how many years, 20, 30 years, have not been producing anything, but that people are earning salaries and huge salaries from working in those refineries that are producing nothing?
People are earning salaries. They are being promoted. They rise to become, all the refineries have managing directors, they have executive directors, they have general managers, they have staff. They are being promoted, they are retiring, they are paying them pensions whilst they refine 0 barrels of crude oil.
For years
on end. So, you see, Mr. President, please, you can't do reforms one-sided. For fuel subsidy, you must bring the refineries back on stream. And the only way to do that is to take them away from the NNPCL, who has shown incompetence over the years, and hand over these refineries to private operators so that they can start bringing petrol more cheaply into Nigerian market. I say more cheaply because minimum wage in Nigeria, how much? 70,000. Minimum wage of a refinery in the US is about $4,000, $5,000 to pay a refinery worker. Because minimum wage for a cleaner to clean in the US is $3,000. So a refinery doesn't pay that kind of minimum wage. A refinery will pay more. So There is no way a refinery that is paying minimum $5,000 to their staff can produce or refine at cheaper rates than a refinery that perhaps is paying 200, 250,000 as minimum wage to their staff here in Lagos. So that is crude oil. Let's go to the other reform, which is electricity tariff.
Yes.
They jacked up electricity tariff, which is a reform on the demand side. How about the supply side? As we speak today, we are doing 3,000 megawatts.
There is collapse of grid every day.
Exactly. We are doing 3,000 megawatts of electricity for scale, just for Nigerians to understand how poor we are energy-wise. Brazil, with an equivalent population like ours, are doing 150,000 megawatts per day.
No, we are told that the 3,000 is not enough for Abuja now.
No, it's not. Exactly. It's not enough. So imagine 150,000 megawatts and 3,000. Mr. President needs to do reform on the supply side and transmission company. So privatization happened in the generation and the distribution, and they left transmission, the middle bit, without funding. Without funding, generation can't push into transmission, transmission can't give distribution. Mr. President, please do something about transmission, do something about the licenses for the discos. Let us look at the other reform that they have done, which is interest rate. You just jack up interest rate. If we just jack up interest rate, how do you expect businesses to survive? Because businesses need...
You are talking about how businesses will survive.
Yeah.
You jacked up fuel. Though, number one, they have no electricity.
Exactly.
So they run those businesses with diesel.
Okay. You jacked it up.
Jack up the fuel. Yeah. Then you jack up transport, PMS.
Exactly.
Then you jack up
interest rate for them to go and borrow.
So you are killing industries. You are killing human beings.
You are killing the supply side of this economy. Look at exchange rate, for instance. You say, okay, I floated the exchange rate. But you see, the price of Naira vis-a-vis another currency like the dollar is dependent on demand and supply. Like the dollar is fighting Naira now, punching Naira in the face. Why? Because we are using Naira to demand the dollar constantly. Mr. President, after he has floated, needed to now take steps to reverse that trend, such that instead of us demanding for dollar, we should be exporting to get dollars in. Yeah, we should be exporting to get dollars in, and then we should be consuming what we are producing, that we don't need
rather than export to get dollars in. What has happened is that what people are doing, there is the indication that many state governors collect their FAC, their allocation, and change it from Naira to dollar.
Exactly. That is what is happening. So, if you notice it, before this government came into power, FAC allocation was in the neighborhood of 600 billion Naira per month to all the three tiers of government. FAC allocation is now in the trillions of Naira level. Why? It's just the exchange rate. Because before then, they would take $1, they will get 460 Naira. Now they take $1 and collect 1,700 Naira. So that is where the money has gone up. And once this money goes into the subnational government, the local government and the state government, they are just using it to go and buy the dollar. So even when the central bank tries to fight for the Naira and push some dollars into the market, they use this FAC process to sweep it off the market.
So is it incompetence, inefficiency, lack of know-how, or is it deliberate measures to punish the people and kill us? What's going on? Is it incompetence? Is it inefficiency? Is it lack of know-how? What are we dealing with regards to this whole thing about oil and oil prices and Naira devaluation?
Yeah.
Because I have not seen any country since about 1980, 82, 83, 84, 85 that they brought these structural adjustment programs from World Bank and IMF. I have not seen any African country that has developed on account of this deregulation and so on and so forth. I've not seen any. So how in 2023, how they will embrace the same Bretton Woods prescriptions? I don't understand, because in 1988, I traveled to the US. I bought $1 for 1 Naira.
Yes.
Now, I bought $1 for 1 Naira.
Yes.
Now, then they brought
before then it was even less. Before then you would
then
give
they
like
brought
80
structural
kobo.
adjustment under Babangida, and since then the thing has been going from 1 to 10 to 40 to 100 to 200, and the same people who gave you the prescription, you are still going to them to get prescriptions for your economy. Are you thinking?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that the people in government are incompetent. Mr. President himself is highly qualified. He's an accountant like me, an oil industry person like me. He's own businesses. His finance minister is qualified, all of that. I think what is lacking in the people who are leading us is compassion.
Lack of compassion.
Lack of compassion. You have to have compassion over the suffering of the people. That is what drives you to take on any cabal. Because, Father, like you are here, if you have compassion as you have over the suffering of people, there is no cabal that will stop you from reaching out to them, for providing succor to them.
Because they say that that criminal gangs or that cabal are the ones that are cornering the subsidy.
Yes.
But they know the cabal.
Exactly. So if they have compassion over the suffering of the people, and they see that, why is it that Nigeria has got fertile soil and the farmers have been driven away from their farms
by
bandits and marauders and all of that? If you have compassion over the people, you will send in the security agencies to get those guys out. Return the farmers back to their farms so that they can now start producing food.
Assure them of security.
Exactly. That is the supply side of the reform. Supply food by producing the food, not going to import food, which this government is doing. Not by giving people 25,000 naira handout. What do they do with it?
That one is an insult.
Do you understand? Open up the space. Do you look at the sunshine? This sunshine that we have for free, that God gives us every day, is money. Number one, apart from the fact that we can use it to generate electricity. Now it's winter in Europe, in North America, everywhere.
They will be demanding
open up the space, and these guys will just come. Somebody will put $10,000 in their pocket. Come here, enjoy the sun, leave the $10,000 here for us, and carry their tanned bodies back. Imagine 1 million tourists coming with $10,000 to enjoy sun that God gives us without any effort on our side. So these are the issues. If you have compassion, you look at these areas, you say, why is electricity 3,000 megawatts? You deal with it. Why is our refineries down? You deal with it. Why are farmers not in their farm?
Well,
you deal with it. These are the things that will solve this
part
country.
Of this, perhaps it comes from your lack of compassion. Yeah. The point is, when the people who run a place, when the leaders don't share in the plight of the people, because the leaders have generators running around the clock in their houses. Yeah. The leaders have their children overseas and their houses for their medicals. Yeah. If the leaders don't share in the plight of the people,
they can't work
then the people will just be expecting endlessly and nothing will happen until Nigerians get to a point and say, look, we will only vote into power the people who are sharing our plight.
Yes.
Nothing will happen.
I think you have touched on a very important matter. I keep telling people that those countries were jackpot to UK, US, Canada, Australia.
Look at their leaders.
It is the people that ensure that their leaders are delivering good governance to them.
Yes. It is not the leaders that decided to be good.
It is the people putting pressure on
decided.
Them. Yeah. So in Nigeria, we have allowed the politicians to polarize us along ethnic, religious, and political divides. Such that if I want to make a statement and somebody will say, where is this person from? Oh, Ben, he must be attacking my man who is in power.
On that note, we'll be bringing this discussion to an end. I've been speaking to Deacon Nick Agule, an oil expert, spent his whole life working in the oil industry, both in Nigeria and in the UK. And we have been discussing about the Nigerian crisis, the oil crisis. What is wrong with us? And he has talked about the fact that perhaps what is wrong with us is the lack of compassion. May our leaders have compassion for the suffering people of Nigeria.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.